That's what I'm reading right now. Jim Butcher's Battlegrounds. I love the Dresden Files books. They're so great. I've read every single one of them. I don't have all of them, but in recent years, I've been able to keep collecting the hardcovers of the recent Dresden Files books. And I have Peace Talks, which is the book that takes place before Battlegrounds. Both these came out this year from Jim Butcher, who's a really good writer. If you don't know the Dresden Files books, it's about a wizard named Harry Dresden who goes through a lot of different weird adventures, and it's really fun. I'm not explaining it right. It's great. It's a great series. Um, I've read some other things this year, and I thought I'd point out a couple of things that I've read. Um, I read Angel, the reboot of Angel, a comic where it's kind of starts over with Angel and kind of shows you who he is and where he's from. Buffy's Angel. Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I don't have it here, but I read the Buffy reboot too, the volumes that are out of that, and wow. I mean, the Angel reboot's really good, but the Buffy reboot is so good. I mean, it's so well done. It's Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but it's kind of like taking into consideration a lot of the things that happened over the years and putting it back to the start in modern day. So Buffy is in high school in modern day, and so is Willow and Xander, and Giles is there in the library. And it's starting over from the beginning of Buffy, but it's set in 2020, non-pandemic 2020, or 2019, 2020, and it's, it's a story for modern times, but if you're a fan of the series, the TV series, I think you'll enjoy the comic. It's a new take on Buffy. And I also read this. This is so good. Locke and Key, um, Small World. It's kind of a side story in the Locke and Key universe, and really neat little adventure. And I also, before that, I reread all of the Locke and Key books. That's by Joe Hill. Joe Hill and Gabriel Rodriguez, who is just a great artist. And if you like horror comics, and it's Halloween month, it's October, and you haven't read these, go read them now. Seriously, stop watching this video. Just go read those. They're so good. Also, I started reading this book. It's called A Peculiar Peril by Jeff Vandermeer. I hope I'm saying that right. I started to read it, and I got distracted because I got the new Dresden Files book, Battlegrounds, and so I stopped reading Peculiar Peril, and I went over to Battlegrounds and I started reading that. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do that, and then I'll get back to that book. Hopefully, I'll remember where I'm at. If I don't, I guess I'll have to start all over. It's a really neat little book, though. I mean, it's about this kid who inherits from his grandfather this mansion with all this weird stuff in it, and his friends come there and they're trying to organize the place, and they discover a secret world, and it's kind of like sort of if Harry Potter or Chronicles or Narnia was on drugs. It's pretty nuts. It's You have some really weird stuff in it, but it's really well done. It's humorous. It's fun. I think it's pretty much something that anybody could read. Kids. I think it's meant for kids, but I think adults can get some kind of enjoyment from it as long as they have an open mind and they're not, you know, kind of stuck up about, oh, it's got to be realistic or it's got to, make sense. um, what else have I read this year? I started reading Stephen King's new book, If It Bleeds, but then the pandemic hit. We got into the pandemic more, I should say, because we were already in it, but we got into it more, and other things happened with me and my family, and I stopped reading it. I love Stephen King, but I fell out of the mood for a horror story at that moment, and I need to get back to that eventually because I didn't. There's two stories in that I didn't read. One I started, and then another I never got to. So I got to get back to that eventually. Um, but it was a good book. I don't know. I got distracted, and so I stopped reading stuff for a while, and then I started extremely reading a lot of stuff. You know, my favorite, I think my favorite, other than Dresden Files, is the Lock and Key books. Unbelievable. But also, I read a comic called Adventure Man, and I'll have a separate video about that because I think it needs a little bit more explaining. But that's really such a fun comic. And, so I mean, it's nice to read some books and kind of escape into some other worlds. It's what I do with video games and TV and movies, but I think there's still something pretty special about reading books, and comics, reading and looking at pictures that kind of is different from, you know, movies and games and stuff. That's it's still special. Um, so I mean that's anyway, I'm rambling a bit. That's what I've been reading. And what have you been reading? Have you been reading anything interesting? Let me know in the comments. And also, if you're wondering, I think I mentioned I'm on Twitter before. You can follow me. I'm at DF2506 on Twitter. And I'll be posting my videos there too. And you can follow me, and you'll be seeing a lot more of me. Bye.